So it's a hot topic in the news, but the theme is timeless: lying on a resume. Newly elected Congressman from New York, George Santos, has been caught in you could call it a web of lies involving his education and his employment history, not to mention his family history, his religion, and his financial background. He has admitted these statements were untrue, but he has called them embellishments or fudging. Was the word he has used. He is also now under investigation for campaign finance violations as well as check fraud. But other than that, he seems like a pretty honest guy. Anyway, obviously the context of his lies are different because he has made them in the context of running for Congress. But that's still a job and he's a public employee, so it got me to thinking about an issue you may have wondered about as well. Is lying on your resume illegal? We'll discuss it here. I'm Mark Lyda from Lyda Law Firm. Before we dig in, click like, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell to receive more legal education like this. Now, is it illegal to lie on your resume? The short answer is, it depends. The first thing to remember is that we live in a nation that has freedom of speech. The law is loath to restrict that freedom, but there are certain circumstances in which it does. For example, in the civil context, defamation law, or in both the criminal and civil context, fraud. Because if you think about it, much of the conduct that constitutes fraud boils down to some form of speech. But when in doubt, the law errs on the side of protecting freedom of speech. In most cases, lying on your resume is not a criminal offense. However, it can of course still have serious consequences. Your employer can fire you immediately if you are discovered, which of course could result in reputational and financial harm for you. Keep in mind that freedom of speech protection protects you from governmental action. It does not protect you from private employer action against you. You might not get anywhere by appealing your firing saying, hey, it's my freedom of speech to lie on my resume. Also keep in mind that technically an employer could use this against you in negative employment references when they are contacted by future employers. And as long as they do so accurately and factually, that is technically okay. However, many employers are unwilling to take the legal liability risk of giving someone a negative employment review anyway. Now, in some cases, lying on your resume can be considered fraud. This is especially true if you used resume embellishments or lying to get a job that requires special certifications, special licensure, or particular advanced degrees. For example, if you're applying for a job as a doctor or a lawyer and you are claiming to have a license or education that you don't have. That could be fraud because it could cause financial harm to the employer who relied on the statements in your resume. Of course, there are also issues at play there of the employer's due diligence and harm on consumers and the employer's duty to consumers as well. But if you're lying about special certifications or being a doctor or a lawyer when you're not, that's when regulatory or law enforcement authorities could become involved. As a rule of thumb, if you've seen it in the movie Catch Me If You Can, don't do it. And to clarify, in most jurisdictions, fraud is both a criminal and civil offense, meaning you can be sued by a party whom you have damaged or caused financial injury to. Fraud can also be brought as a criminal charge by prosecutors. In the real world, it would only be the most egregious of cases that would result in something like that. So to sum it up, lying on your resume is rarely a criminal offense, but it could, of course, have other consequences for you. And it's a serious matter for your career, your finances, and your reputation. That all being said, if you are watching this video because you have already lied on your resume, don't panic. Everyone makes mistakes, and people have certainly come back from worse things than this. Thanks for watching, and check out our other content for more legal education for entrepreneurs.